Okay, so today we're going to go through a preset that I've recently created that's aiming towards kind of a generic country preset for the Quad Cortex. This is something that someone asked for in one of the comments to my videos, and I figured I'd give it a try, even though I'm not really a country player. So this is based on some of the research I've done in terms of some of the country players, that are based in Nashville and other places, and just try to understand, what are some of the common mechanisms or equipment that get used by country players. Amp-wise, it really came down to kind of two styles of amps. One is a Fender. Mostly you hear a lot about kind of twin reverbs and things like that, but I'm going to use the Deluxe Reverb model because I think it's the best sounding model on the Quad Cortex in terms of Fender Tones. And then the other style amp you see a lot is kind of that Vox style, specifically Matchless seems to be pretty popular. And so I grabbed one of those as well. We're going to use both of those in the preset for some different tones. And then we've got some compression up front, some overdrives that are common in some of these Nashville players. We've got a slapback delay, which is common for some country tones. We've got some tremolo in here for some clean tones, just to throw that in, and some different EQ boosts for different kinds of kind of more lead-oriented tones. So let's go ahead and look at the preset and see what we've got. As I said, I've got two amps here. One is the US Deluxe 64 Vintage. Again, I think this is one of the better sounding Fender models on the Quad Cortex. The other one is the Matchmore D30. So this is a matchless. I'm using the channel 1. In terms of cabs for the Fender, I'm using a IR loader with a couple Fender cabinets. These are IRs from Amalgam. I'll put that link in the description below where you can grab these. And then for the matchless, I'm actually using a 4x12 V30. I just like how it smooths out the matchless. I'm not a big lover of Vox tones, so I think this makes it sound best. You can obviously switch it out for something you might prefer. I've got a generic EQ where we're pulling back some of the low frequencies and then we're pushing some of the higher frequencies just to get some kind of that top end cut. So you get a little bit of that twang for the country players. And like I said, we've got a slapback delay here. We're at 100 milliseconds. And on the end, I've just got a room reverb. Not a super high mix. I didn't want it to be too wet. I wanted that slapback to kind of shine forth a little bit. On some of the lead tones, instead, I've got a digital delay. We're pushing a little bit more of a longer delay here for lead style tones. And in terms of upfront stuff, we've got a compressor. So I got a VCA comp here for this clean tone. I've got a Timmy capture that I found on the Cortex Cloud, just to be a low gain kind of boost. And then I've got an Nobel OD1, which is a very common Nashville pedal you'll see a lot. And then I've got a parametric EQ here set up for some of the lead tones to where we're pushing some kind of 800 and 2000 level frequencies. Again, just trying to make those lead tones cut a little bit. So let's go and hear how it sounds. So this is kind of the core Fender tone. So I've got the compressor on, we've got the Fender amp, and we've got our standard EQ and the slapback delay and some reverb. And it sounds like this. So, I think it's kind of a good twangy kind of clean tone. You got that little bit of compression up front. You got the slapback along with some of that light reverb. I think it works pretty well. And then we can take that Fender and on the clean tone, I've only got the volume at 2.5, so keeping it as clean as I can. Or we can push it up to a higher level. Get a little bit of grit in there. And just kind of boost that a little bit. The other thing we can do is I've got this pushing with the Timmy. So that works for a nice kind of low gain. And then this is a clean tone. I'm using the tremolo just for a nice little. So just add a little bit of flavor to that clean tone. And then we've got our matchless, which has a little more cut. We look at the settings here. I got the gain, again, we're on channel 1, so the cleanest channel. I've got the volume or the gain pushed to 5.5. The cut's all the way off, and I'm pushing a lot of masters, so trying to kind of beef it up. So I think that works pretty well. Or we could push that a little bit, push the gain up to 7. So just kind of a nice pushed box style tone there. Again, we're using that V30 cabinet, so it's warming it up a little bit. I like that. You may want to switch that cabinet out for something different. And then I've got 2 different leads using the Matchmore. One is adding in that Timmy. Again, we're adding in that longer delay. Or we could go kind of with much more drive, and this would be more for I think a more modern country lead with the OD1. Again, adding in. So still not tons of gain, but I think more gain than a lot of the other things. So that's kind of my best take at this kind of country preset. I think there's some good tones in here. You know, I leaned on heavily a lot of the amps that I've used before, and then I know that I like. So, you know, we've got that 64 Fender Deluxe. We've got that Matchmore Channel 1. I think those are great sounding models, and so I leaned on those heavily here. And then I just try to add in some of the coloring around them to make them kind of more country-ish in nature. Obviously, there's a lot of great country players out there, you know, Brent Mason and that type of player who have very complex pedal boards. I wasn't getting into all that. I was trying to get some good core tones for anybody who might want to use some of these for, you know, if you're in some kind of cover band and need to do a little bit of country, I think this preset might work well for you. So, as always, I'll make this preset available on my Cortex Cloud account. The link for that is in the description below. And like I said, the link for the Amalgam IRs is also in the description below. So check this preset out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching.